What is up, Scrub Fam? I am here, back from the holidays. I've been really busy, doing a lot of work, doing a lot of stuff. It's the new year, we have events coming up. It's pretty lit. I got my Shinron jersey, hashtag ham banana on the back. Ham banana, broken. Broken, absolutely broken. Indianapolis Colts hat, because my best friend Tom Single's a Colts fan and they're playing this week in the divisional playoff. This is absurd. This is absurd. Dragon Ball Super is insane. We're doing more content lately on the Patreon page and ramping that back up, and also got a lot of announcements coming into that page. A lot of new stuff going to happen, new tiers coming out to better support anyone that's looking to get better at this game. But anyways, I know you guys are here. Before I get started, let me give a shout out to my team, Shinron's Lair. We are one of the featured teams on the PPG Tour. The first PPG Tour event is going to be in Atlantic City. The inaugural event is going to be a huge deal. Clash of Fates comes out, and we have a whole new world ahead of us, as Aladdin would say, without the innuendos, because this is a kid-friendly YouTube channel. But anyway, let's get started. Let's start with the obvious. This is Storm's last stand, Storm's last ride, and it's going to be a lot of fun, because we get to see some people play with themselves a lot on stream. This is going to be super sweet. I'm really excited about this event because it's going to be the last event where Storm decks kind of dominate the camera for a lot of the tournament, because at the end of the day, Storm is still the best deck right now because it has all the tools to be able to interact with the rest of the format, but the rest of the format doesn't have all the tools to interact with it unless you like target it specifically. So we're going to be going over, of course, Storm's last stand, and what I want to touch on is, going to be going over some of the tech you should be looking to play in your sideboards this weekend. The ratios you can figure out yourself, but it's just going to give you a tidbit going into the weekend about what you should think about playing in your sideboard. But anyway, the way Storm is going to be successful is two things. Number one, the more diverse the field is, the better Storm has a chance to succeed. If we lived in a perfect world and everyone realized that Storm was still going to be the best deck, and so they decided to sleeve up Mono Blue, Janimba Mill, or Hercule, then we could expect Storm to have a really bad day. But we can't expect that because the player base loves to play what they want to play. So you're going to have people showing up with, a bunch of Shinron decks, you're going to have a bunch of Droid decks, you're going to have, red decks, you're going to have all these different things, and none of them are going to be able to stand up to the consistency and the power that Storm provides, because the fact that Storm, as I stated before, has answers to the rest of the format, but the format doesn't have answers to it. So let's go over some things that you should think about playing in your sideboard this weekend if you are going to be a true spike and play Storm. So sideboard stuff. First thing to start off with, 2-time control Cronoa. Shigesh is back on the horizon. Shigesh is back, especially with the introduction of the Broly leader coming out. He's going to be playable for the event itself, and not only that, but people saw that PPG, because those guys are pretty cool, they decided to play Shigesh at one of the tournaments recently, and they did pretty okay, and so that puts Shigesh back on everyone's radar. So I think you should have 2-time control Cronoa in your sideboard. 2 Mass and the Mysterious Warrior. This isn't just for the mirror. It's just in general, if you need removal for little things, Mass Sand's a great card. 1 Mirror Creator Absorbed, you're going to want to side this in when you see Hercule, so you'll have the 3rd copy post-board. You're going to want to play additional Battering as well, so you have the 2nd or 3rd Battering post-board against that matchup as well. You're going to have 2 Mafubas, mostly to deal with Deadly Defenders as well as Vegito. This is probably the card that you end up having the hardest time against if one resolves and your opponent has decent hand size, but if you can Mafuba them and completely take away their energy for the turn, or basically make them waste their play, you're going to be able to stay ahead and ultimately close that game out. 3 Sneak Attack Vegeta, 3 Gogeta Hero Revived. This technology was created by, I don't know who originally created it, but I know that Eric Good One was the first one that I've talked to that actually played this, and Alejandro Meno ended up playing it in his sideboard at the Orlando event and did really well against those mono blue decks. So I recommend playing these cards in your sideboard so you have a better chance, especially against Janimba Mill. It gives yourself a little bit more of an ultimate win condition, and the same needs as mono blue decks. Just allows you to kind of get their life total within range, and then you can go G to 7 them relatively easily. And then, of course, we have a Nimbus, so depending on your main deck configuration, most people are playing 2 these days to kind of mimic Jordan Markle's Nationals list, so you'll have the 3rd one on the sideboard, or if you play 1 main deck, 2nd one on the sideboard, however you want to run it. But this is kind of the sideboard that I would consider going into the event itself. I don't think you're going to leave yourself with too many holes. I think the only other thing you might want to see, I'm a huge fan of main decking 1X and Goten Family of Justice, but you can consider sideboarding it if you want to be able to get that additional edge against stuff like Crisis Crusher or pesky blockers, etc. Also, the Desperate Warrior Bardock is another good call, because the fact that if you're playing the mirror match, you can get around blockers with, the Desperate Warrior Bardock to try and close out the game. So anyway, that is Storm. This is a sideboard tech I would consider, of course, with the stuff that I just talked about as well. So let's go on to the next archetype. Mono Blue is going to take it back to back. I don't know. I think the Mono Blue is relatively easy to counter, because there's so many decks that if you just play more powerful strategies, you're going to be able to beat Mono Blue relatively easily. So Mono Blue really just kind of is in the spot where it's just good against Storm, as well as just some of the aggressive strategies. And if you're a really good pilot, you're a really good player, you're probably going to be able to beat some of the best decks. So Mono Blue deck is a straight up 50-50 deck. It's like playing Abzan. It's just... It has its win percentage. It has decent matchups against the spread. It has a couple really good matchups here and there. But Mono Blue is considered that way. So some things I want to talk about is the tech that you should consider playing in your Mono Blue decks, whether they're sideboard or if you're going to be playing them in the main deck. These are the cards I really like. I like Dinde New to the Job. Dinde is just going to allow you to interact with the Shinron decks, especially if you're Janemba, or even if you're something like Mono Blue. Hirudegarn, you want to be able to have the ability to disrupt them and take them off of what they want to do, and Dinde New to the Job does that. In tandem with Shinron Figure of Majesty, Shinron decks don't run a lot of removal outside of At-All Cost Vegeta. Other than that, there's not really too much removal that they have access to. So if you can stick a Shinron Figure of Majesty and keep reanimating a Dinde New to the Job, you can get their energy down to as low as 2, 3, maybe even 1, and then you're just going to be way too far ahead at that point. Toki Toki, most people are playing Kami in their main deck, as well as maybe even Cronoa. Toki Toki is just going to serve an additional copy of those cards as long as you're Dende. 3 Courageous Heart Yajirobe. I think the Yajirobe's in a really good spot. Playing against somebody that was trying to play Gogeta 7 against me, I was playing Mono Blue. I think I was playing Janemba at the time, and I put 2 Courageous Heart Yajirobes down within a single turn, and then basically my opponent played their Gogeta Hero Revived, and yeah, they put my hand size down low, but they couldn't do anything about it because I had 2 Yajirobes out. So they ended up having to take a turn and then playing Ultimate Fusion Gogeta to get the 2 Yajirobes off the board, but by that time that happened, their deck was already too low. There's not much they can really do about it, so the game is pretty much over at that point. So I really like Yajirobe coming out of the board, or if you want to main deck it, I think the card's great right now. And then 3 Mafuba. I know it sounds crazy, but you want to see the Mafubas, especially post-board, if you're playing against Gogeta. I mean, if you're playing Shinron decks, you want to be able to, randomly sack into one of these cards and just be able to take out your opponent's win condition completely. That and just Mafuba is just great. It's pseudo removal, helps deal with a battle card attack for up to 2 turns. That's one thing a lot of people don't think about it. So you're going to be able to take care of it the turn that Mafuba is played. So that's 1 turn, and then you're also going to be able to take care of it the next turn because it can't attack because it still has a Mafuba on top of it till end of turn. So it's almost like pseudo removal in that respect. So this is the Mono Blue tech I would kind of look at going forward, going to this tournament, especially because like your weakest matchup is any deck that can go over the top of you, or any deck that can really control your hand size. So I really like being able to have some resilient cards here, cards that can help stem the bleeding for you or get those troublesome threats off the board. So I really like stuff like Yajirobe, Shinron, Mafuba, etc., especially coming out of your sideboard. So the next thing to look at is Duper 17! Duper 17 is real good. A lot of people like droids, and I understand the the thought process about reducing the energy cost of your droids, but sparking and having access to stuff for free is really good. Untapping 2 energy is really good, and drawing a card with your leader on the front side when you attack is good, and milling is good. I know. Crazy. But here's what happens when you mill. You gain access to knowledge of what cards are still in your deck. You get closer to a piece. So think about it this way. So say you're playing Super 17 and your hand is a Cell 3 drop, an Android 17, and you don't have an Android 18. Well, when you swing with your leader and you mill 2 cards, and none of those cards are in Android 18, you weren't going to draw on one anyway. So if anything, you actually just got closer to drawing the exact card you needed. So think about it like that. Also think about how you can have your super combos online much earlier. Which I'm a huge fan of having access to your super combos, especially if you ever need to play defensive. Shocking Death Ball can now be live for free. So this also serves as a method of awakening you. And additionally, you need Sparking 10 for your Super 17 6-drop. So this is the configuration or the list that I would start with if I was looking to play Super 17. I know a lot of people are really into playing some mix of super combos. I really just like to keep it straight up. Like up and down, let's just play 4 of this one. I always want to draw a card. Drawing cards always good, and I always want 10k no matter what. So I want to play Vegeta, right? The rest of the deck, 3 Dark Power Mass Sand. You really want to play this against any deck that's playing Chain Zeno, so I like having it in the main deck, basically because you can kind of punish them for playing Chain Attack Zeno, which is going to be most of the time what those red-blue decks do to kind of, you know, reverse the tide against you. So if you did get a Dark Power Mass Sand out and they can't kill it, then they just have to, you know, kind of cry, you know, by the fact that if they change Zeno, they're going to get wrecked by it, right? 3 Crisis Crusher Son Goku. You need a way to be able to stop aggressive decks, and at the same time, just being able to pop off pesky 1-drops to reduce the amount of value your opponent gets out of the turns is pretty impactful. 4 Shocking Death Ball. It's your best negate. It's your removal. 3 Infernal Emperor Frieza. I really like having Awakening Sources in the deck. I know that there's some lists that play the 1-drop Dr. Gero, but I think that that card just gets dramatically worse when you're not actually playing the Stout-Hearted Android 16, because, I mean, as much as it can, like, find you additional pieces, I'm not a fan of playing that card. I'd rather play something that can help me awaken, especially in matchups like, you know, the Shenron matchup, where I want to be able to awaken and then untap 2 so I don't die. So, or, you know, even just the aggressive matchup, I want to be able to, you know, get the most out of my turns. You just being able to just play a 1-drop Frieza, take a life, and then flip, you know, on that turn if I need to. 3 Endless Malice, Android 17. Reason why I'm playing this over the barrier, the blocker 17, the 3-drop, is because the fact that 2 is way easier to spend than 3 a lot of the time. And, you know, a lot of times if I'm going to be playing a blocker, it's either going to be the 4-drop Android 17 or a Deadly Defender. So I really like just having an extra attacker if I need one. You know, 4 Cell, 3 Android, Dreadful Duo Android 18 because it's a good attacker. 3 Deadly Defender Android 18 because, of course. And then 4 Hellfighter 17, Evil Revived. I really like the Super 17 chain a lot. As you're going to see, there's no promo Super 17 in here. It's because more often than not, I prefer the removal that I get access to. And the main reason why is because the way that droid decks lose against Shenron Figure of Majesty, lose against Shenron is because of Shenron Figure of Majesty giving their threat crit. So I really like being able to kill it, you know, multiple times throughout the course of a game, and so having more of the, you know, standard 4-drop as opposed to the promo 4-drop allows me to do that. And plus, oftentimes I really don't want to discard 2 cards. My opponent discard 2 cards because a lot of times your opponent's going to have more cards than you. We have 5-drop Cell, of course, 2 of the 6 drops, and then 4 of Perfect Force Cell. Sideboard plan, you really just want to sideboard into blue against Storm, so you can have access to Senzu Bean. Otherwise, the deck stays pretty same in the majority of the games that you play. So that is Duper 17, a list that I would consider playing over the weekend. And then next is going to be, if you want to take and go to the next level, right? So what I mean by next level is I mean that you want to hedge on the fact that people aren't going to play Storm, or you want to hedge on the fact that the field is going to be diverse, and you want to play something really powerful that you think can get you through the field. There's a few decks that allow you to do that. There's Shenron Gogeta, which is similar, which is probably at this point, I haven't really changed the Shenron Gogeta deck that I posted on the YouTube channel. The deck is still amazing, still does work, gets wins against those, you know, fair decks that you expect across the course of the day. Incredibly powerful. You have Hand Destruction Shenron, which of course is still really good against all the fair decks, really good against the slow blue decks. And then of course we have Vegeta Baby. The reason why I like Vegeta Baby is because Vegeta Baby has access to the 3 cards I have listed: Chain Attack Trunks, Zeno the Plain God, and Foreseeing Hit. You know what's better than killing the thing that your opponent's about to play against you? Stopping them from ever playing the thing against you, and Foreseeing Hit does that. Not only that, but if you play Vegeta Baby, you get access to a leader on the front side that has the ability to remove things. On the back side, has the ability to kill up to 2 things, you know, if you get the most value out of it. And additionally, you get to play Revenge Death Ball, you get After Image Technique, you get a deck that is tweaked in Game 1 to be able to beat Storm in Game 1, but at the same time, you have game against everything else. So I really like where Vegeta Baby's positioned this weekend. So anyway, this has been my Meta Talks for Connecticut. It's glad to be back. You can expect a lot of stuff from this channel coming down the pipeline from multiple people, not just myself, but we're going to have Channel Danny Win. We might even have Richard Zapp on here doing some videos. We might even have Corbin doing some videos. Might even have Pat O'Neill doing some videos. It's going to be absurd. 3XG Productions is going to have an amazing 2019. If you guys haven't checked out the Patreon, be sure that you do, to get daily articles, content. You can get access to the 3XG Hub Discord, which is the best community for growth and development if you're trying to make yourself better as a player and discuss with like-minded people who are also looking to get better at this game. So, in general, thank you guys so much for everything, for all the support. You guys have been absolutely fantastic. Your patience has been incredible, and I can't wait to help deliver on even more things this year. Again, as you know, Scrub Fam is best fam. Bye!